between them?
Okay. Hammers. Every blacksmith, you know, that's the clapper in the bell at the blacksmith shop. But this is about a 5-pound hammer, or maybe a little less than that now. But
so why the curved edge on that side? What does that do?
Okay, when I'm hammering metal, and if I'm just beating it with this slightly rounded head on this, if I hit it, it has a tendency to spread out in all directions.
Okay.
If I hit it this way, it has a stronger tendency to spread on both sides of that curve.
So you're controlling the way it spreads.
I can actually make a rod of steel much longer by hitting it like this, and I don't make it very much wider.
Okay.
So this round on there is really good for you know, spreading things out. This actually was made from a splitting maul, you know, with a 36-inch handle. Here's another tool I made from a splitting maul. Gotta get away from the hammers here. But with this, well, it's pretty obvious it was a splitting maul. But what I did, I heated it up and I hammered this out. So I've got a 1-inch square on it. And then I can put it in the anvil here. And when I have a hot piece of metal coming out of the fire, I can put it on that sharp edge and hit it and just chop it off.
Okay.
And I like to use a brass hammer because when I chop it off and go all the way to the cutting edge, I don't spoil the edge on this tool
Because the brass
because
is
it's so much softer. You know.
Okay.
But that's fairly heavy. You know.
Oh my goodness. So then how do you fix the brass since it does get
Oh, I just
cuts in it?
I just grind it
You
off.
just grind it.
Mm-hmm.
So you would basically just use the brass one if you're cutting.
Yeah, I wouldn't be beating on a hot steel with that.
Okay.
So here's another hammer. I've got two different faces on it. This is completely flat, but I like to keep dressing them up so I don't get dings and divots in the face, because then that's reflected right on the steel that you're hammering.
Right.
This side is more rounded,
Okay.
so I can kind of
And again,
make my choice.
why the rounded versus the flat? How does that affect the metal specifically?
Well, if I'm mashing something out flat, I can hit it with this, or I can hit it with this. But if you don't hit this just right square, you get a moon-shaped dimple on one side of it.
Okay.
And that can make things worse than what you were trying to do with a round. And same with this. This is pretty much like the head on this one, except the round part, instead of being in line with the handle, is perpendicular to it. They call this a cross peen.
P-I-N.
P-E-E-N.
Cross P-E-E-N. And what do you call this one?
Well, this would be a straight peen.
A straight peen.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
So I've got two other smaller hammers. I doubt if these were used originally in a blacksmith shop, but I kind of polished and rounded the ends on it for a much smaller job, and then I can use this real tight bend here. But you got to be pretty accurate where you hit, otherwise you get two dimples. Same with this one. This one I modified just a little bit. So I've got a hammer there on one side, but on the other side it's almost like a hatchet. So if I put this on well, I don't like to hit the anvil with this, but I can put the hot metal on a piece of softer steel on top of the anvil and smack it to cut it off.
Okay. So it's basically the opposite of this one.
Mm-hmm. So there's lots of hammers. There's one over here that's French, and it's kind of unique. I thought it looked neat, but I don't see it now. But the head of the hammer was much longer than the back end of it, and that's kind of unusual. Now here's a hammer for flattening, and it's dead flat on that side, but we seldom ever beat with it. A lot of times with an assistant or an apprentice, we'd have the hot metal, we'd put this on top, and then we'd hit this.
Oh.
So then it's much more accurate to make things absolutely flat. Because if you were trying to hit like this, you'd invariably get one side hitting ahead of the other side.
Right.
So that's just a flattening hammer. What else we got there? No, just a table full of junk. This looks somewhat homemade. I'm not sure if that was ever used as a hammer, but it looks like somebody started. Doesn't have much of a hole in it for a handle. A rather dainty hammer or handle for the size of the head. I don't see the one that I was originally looking for. Here's another smaller flattening hammer. Now this is probably a manufactured hammer just for blacksmiths. Some of this stuff was, and I don't know which is which, some of it was donated to the blacksmith shop by people who, were cleaning out barns or maybe an estate sale or whatever. They just decided to donate it to Midway. But a lot of this stuff is what Mike and Joe had purchased. Uh-oh. I didn't latch the door, did I? So I don't know which is, Mike could probably tell you just right off the top of his head, which was which. There's a brass hammer. Looks like a manufactured hammer.
How can you tell it's brass?
Well, partly by the color, but we've got a little symbol on there, 1.5, probably 1.5 pounds.
Okay.
So, another way I could tell, got a magnet here. Yeah. It's non-magnetic.
Okay.